Welcome back to Kicking Tables, and Peter and James, welcome back. It's such a pleasure to have you back on the show, talking about your new upcoming game, Tranquility the Ascent. Of course, I guess, semi-sequel to Tranquility. Who wants to just jump in and talk about what the Ascent is all about?
Go on, James.
Yeah, I'd call it a sequel. I'd call it a sequel. What's it all about? I had more time on my hands and was messing around, um, and I was trying to make something that was similar but different. And I think we pretty much nailed the brief. It's a different puzzle. Yeah, you're building a pyramid instead of building a grid. It's a different puzzle. It feels a little bit similar, but it's totally fresh. And if you enjoyed the first one, you fingers crossed, pretty much going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, so that's what's lovely about this game is it's a co-op puzzle game. Like you are actually working together, and what I loved about it was you can't really tell each other what you have in your hand. You're working together co-op, but you can't say, "Hey, I've got this in my hand, so you should do something like this." That's what's so awesome about it, it is hard game. Tico and I did not win when we played.
Well,
Yeah, it was.
we did
it
when
was,
once we cheated, we did fine.
Yes, yes. As you can see from our preview, we cheated by doing 7 layers instead of 10. But
Which is, I think that should just be an easy mode that we've included just for us.
yeah, Peter, what are your thoughts on the Ascent as a sequel to Tranquility?
Yeah, I'm with Rado on this. I'd probably be bigging this up anyway because obviously we're trying to get people to back the game. But he felt that he enjoyed the sequel more. So did Think of Thema in Australia. I'm absolutely with them. I think it brings the difficulty up a notch, but it also, I think, somehow James has made a game that's more restrictive, but also gives you more scope to do interesting plays, I think.
Yeah.
So I like puzzle better. I like the nature of having to build in stages rather than having the whole grid available from the start. I think makes it, really good gameplay experience that I would think anybody who liked the original is pretty much guaranteed to like this one.
So why don't you give our viewers a brief overview of what the gameplay is? Like, what is it you're trying to do?
Sure. So, like the original, it's 1 to 5 player co-op, but you're basically not allowed to communicate. The full game, you have a base of the mountain that you're starting from, and the theme is that you are trying to climb the mountain. Each row is its own entity, and what you're doing is you're placing cards next to each other. One of the new things for the Ascent is that you have 3 different terrain types with different colors. So you can't place cards of the same terrain type next to each other. So you've got an extra restriction right there versus the original.
Yeah.
Then every time you play a card next to another card, you have to discard the difference between the 2 cards. So all you're trying to do is explore this mountain, build it up, and you've got numbers between 1 and 12, and I think you've got 6 of each in the 3 different colors, basically. Once you've got up to the top, you place a summit card, and if you manage to do that before anybody can't take an action, you've won. But obviously, at some point, you may find that inefficient play has meant that you can no longer take a go, because you either play a card or you discard 2 cards. So those are your options, really,
Right.
in terms of the base game. So yes, that's going to be how you lose most of the time. Occasionally, you might find that you've lost because you discarded a card that you really needed at the end. But
Yeah. And if you run out of cards,
You make it
to
sound
draw,
so easy.
Yeah, right. It's definitely not easy because if you
It's
run out
over.
of cards and can't play, it's game over, right? Even if
Yeah.
someone else still has cards to play, if one person doesn't, it's game over
Yeah.
for everyone.
Truly co-op, yeah.
And that's when you throw that guy out of your game nights, because he lost the game.
well, I think this is one of the fun things about Tranquility. I get how some people, this isn't a game for just about everybody. Lots of people will like this, but some people find the lack of communication frustrating because how can it be a co-op? For me, I really enjoy that dynamic of, either you're going through the emotions of, oh, I can't believe you just did that. You've ruined
Yes.
my go.
Yes.
Or somebody's played a card which has just opened up a really good opportunity for you, and that's great.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's not like there's no communication. It's just, but you can't tell anyone what's in your hand, and you can't make plans, but you can react. Like, oh man, I can't believe you did that. You just ruined my turn.
It is nice because it takes the quarterbacking aspect of board games away. You can't just have one person who's like, okay, I'm going to go here. Now you play this card.
Right.
Because you can't have that communication. So it takes that one person who's too bossy out of the equation.
The alpha gamer. That's right.
Yeah, I was about to say that. And you can never blame somebody for bad play because you never know what their options were. Like, you know, they might have messed you up, but it might not be their fault.
Right. That's true.
Had no other options. I'm curious, at what point of the development did you decide that it was going to be a mountain? Like, you know, did the gameplay come first and you sort of fit in the theme, or did you have the idea of the mountain first and that's sort of what built the game out?
The mountain was first, and that was just mathematical. That was mathematical.
Okay.
Because of triangular numbers, and I was trying to make a grid like the first one that was going to feel different. So the triangle came first, and a mountain was an obvious fit, and then everything else followed on.
That's awesome. Now that you've got 2 games in the Tranquility series, of course you've got the original Tranquility and now the Ascent. Are you hoping for more? Like, is this something you kind of let's see if we can continue into the Tranquility series for more of these co-op, you know, for lack of a better term, tranquil games?
3 is a magic number. I don't have a third one, but a third one. Hopefully some inspiration will make it work, but a trilogy is
Tranquility Trilogy just has a great ring to it.
It's definitely
the Tranquility.
If James comes to me and he's got one and it's good, then I certainly wouldn't say no. So, you know, I'd have to consider it very seriously. You know, and that could also depend on the success of this one. If people have had enough after 2, then don't want to flog a dead horse. But if people still like that puzzle and want something fresh again, then, you know, James is probably going to be dogged by Tranquility for the rest of his life, I should think.
Well, you know, you just go with the 3, then you have a nice box set of the Tranquilogy or the Trilogy or so. I don't know. You got to get some name.
The Tranquilogy, that's going to stick.
The Tranquilogy, exactly.
It's going to be on the box somewhere at some point.
You got that's it.
Don't knock back this one in case there's a 3-in-1 later on. That's a long way down the road.
Don't let me oversell this. I have nothing. Nothing.
But you have the name of your trilogy now. That's the first step.
It's got to come now.
So with this, talk to us a little bit about the difference between Tranquility and the Ascent. What major differences are people who haven't played, you know, either of them are going to notice? What sort of are the big differences that you really want people to know about as to what makes them differ?
I'll give Peter that one, I think.
You're very kind. Okay, well, the biggest plus, aside from that general gameplay which we talked about, sort of like the different colors adds a whole new level of strategy. The fact that it's more restrictive, I think, makes the game even more appealing. But the biggest one for me then might be the implementation of the expansions. So as with the original, it comes with 3 mini expansions, and you can play with none of them, or you can play with all 3. And that's a big plus point for me for the Ascent, because they truly work together. So if you play all 3, it's going to be very hard, but they work. You know, they fit together very nicely. The original, you didn't quite have that, because if you were playing with storms, for instance, then you wouldn't play with jagged rocks, for instance. So, and the fact is that all 3 of the mini expansions add something really quite different. So you've got the green path, which is building a single row from the bottom to the top of the green card specifically. That feels very different to the panoramas when you're trying to get specific number sequences on rows, which again feels completely different to herding goats. So in terms of components, this is the big excitement for the Ascent, is that you have little custom goat meeples climbing the mountain. So you're trying to get these stupid goats to go and find the nice grass at the top. So that adds, a really different level of game on top of it. So I think those are the real plus points.
That's awesome. How did you develop this, obviously, during the pandemic? How hard was it to playtest this? Like, how did you go about playtesting this during this difficult time? And just what was it like playtesting this, and what kind of stories do you have there?
Both Tranquilities can be played solo, and I made the first one as a solo game first,
okay,
and then branched it out to multiplayers. So I did the same thing with this. And I had 95% of the gameplay nailed down on my own,
okay.
which obviously helps when you're designing and you can't see anybody else.
Right. Yeah.
And we opened up in the UK just for a little bit, and I spent some time with my family, and so. I met up just with my mum basically, and the two of us just went through it. And the goats were actually her idea. She's ecstatic that they've made the final cut. So she said, "Can't you do something with goats?" I'm like, give me some time and I'll have a think. So yeah, and it's very much been born from just the two of us. I had it down, but she's been my main playtester. And then we've done an awful lot online. Once Peter signed it, we set up a team online, and we took it from there.
Awesome.
Not easy.
Now,
No.
When you said you sat down, you knew that you wanted to do something with a mountain first. Is that correct? So how different was the game completely different when you first thought of it as a mountain, or was it like you thought, I want to do something with a mountain, and then literally what we've got now is what you came up with? Or did it go through a growth change, like a bunch of changes and stuff?
Yeah, good question. I tried to keep the maths similar to the first one. The first one was fairly balanced. I didn't want to mess with the numbers too much, so you'll find that the card count in this one is quite close to the first one.
Okay.
And the cards in the grid is slightly more, but that was just adjusting from a starting point. So I was looking at how I could get the same number of cards in a new formation. So obviously the first was a 6x6 grid, and so I was arranging as close as I could to 36 in different shapes, and that's where the mountain came from. From there, I can't tell you. It's a bit of a blur.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like all game design. You try something, it works, or it doesn't work, and you try something else, and it's experimentation. And if you're doing it on your own, you can get through that process much faster. I don't have to find 3 other people to sit down with me for an hour or 2 hours while I try a bunch of different ideas.
That's true.
So it developed to kind of like 95% quite quickly, because it was just me changing and iterating and changing, and then I put it in front of my parents because they'll be the first ones to tell me that it doesn't work.
Well, it's good.
And then
you've got those playtesters built in. That's awesome.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the campaign itself. Do you guys have any stretch goals planned? Any built-in expansions, and what sort of stuff do you guys have planned for the campaign?
Yeah, 3 mini expansions included right away. Keeps it nice and fresh, lots of variability. The stretch goals. One thing I'm not particularly keen on is content-based stretch goals. That is, things that change gameplay. Because
right.
if you haven't playtested, those things properly, or you're still developing them, then all that's going to do is increase the time it's going to take to deliver and all the rest of it. So in terms of gameplay, there's going to be no changes in during the campaign. But what the stretch goals will do is turn your already a nice product, including like custom goat meeples and a hiker meeple, and then what we'll hope to do at that point is then say, okay, here's some screen prints on the meeples to make them look fantastic, and then here's a nicer box, here's a bit of foil finish on some of the cards to make them stand out.
Right.
So just things that really improving the quality of the box.
Yeah. That's awesome. Quality of life improvements are always my favorite, actually. I actually really like that when you get the extra fund, then you just pump it back into the game itself by making the components better. And I actually appreciate those kind of stretch goals.
Peter and I are agreed on this, I think. If it needs expansion to make it better, then that should be in the box from the get-go.
Agreed.
We're not selling you a second-rate game that will be better if we hit all the stretch goals. It's got to be the best it can be from the beginning.
Right.
And if we're gonna look at stretch goals, it needs to be, the things that you don't need to have a fantastic product. Not the things that you do.
That's right.
So it's just making that good thing better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, gentlemen, we have our lightning round now. I can't remember if you guys did this last time.
No.
But
we didn't get to do this the first time we had them on.
Perfect. So we have our lightning round questions. These are quick answer, board game night related questions. Just first thing that comes to your mind. I'm going to ask the questions. We'll get Peter to answer first, then James, and we'll see where we come up with this.
And your answers cannot be your own games.
Right.
So we want to get to know you outside your game.
Okay.
All right. First question: legacy games, destroy components or preserve them?
Destroy.
Preserve.
Okay.
All right. Purchasing games, local game store or online?
Online, because I don't really have a local.
Oh, okay.
Same.
That's fair.
All right. Your favorite modern game?
Le Havre.
Le Havre?
Okay.
Dominion.
Nice. Okay.
All right. Worker placement or area control?
Worker placement.
Wow, Peter's like
Area
boom,
control.
boom, boom.
Area control, definitely.
All right. All right. Deck builder or deck constructor?
Okay, I need a qualification here. What's the difference?
So deck constructor would be like Magic the Gathering. Deck builder would be like Dominion.
Neither?
Okay, that's fair. You're just not a card guy. You're not a card game guy.
I am. I like some deck builders. It's not my favorite, but I'd probably rather play something that's already got the decks made, during the game rather than beforehand. Yeah.
Okay, so more deck constructor then. Say, okay, fair enough.
Deck builder, definitely.
Oh. All right. Most recent game purchase?
It's just arrived. Ask James.
Yeah, and I'm struggling for the title. It's the little Stefan Benendorf card game that's about seasons. Oh, begins with an O. Does that help you?
No.
Oh, Water's Edge for me. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, James, it's not sparking anything in my head.
Cool. I got four at the same time, so okay. I'll go with a different one. I got the game Quick and Easy, which is the follow-up.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
All right, your favorite classic game?
Ticket to Ride.
Oh, good.
Is that old enough to be classic?
I think Ticket to Ride would be old enough to be considered classic. What do you think, Tico?
Well, I guess it depends on how old you are and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay. If you're talking like old, how about Heimlich & Co?
I don't know that one, but okay. Yeah.
Okay. You played that? It's an old Wolfgang Kramer, but it is Very, very smart, elegant, clean design.
Awesome.
All right.
Peter, have you thought of anything?
Yeah, Wizard. It's a nice card game. 1987, I think, the original version.
Okay.
It's trick taking, but you're bidding on what you think you're going to win. Very, very fun.
Chico would
That
like
is
that
an
one.
excellent choice. Excellent choice.
All right. Now, here's the last question. Other than your own game that you most want to add to your collection?
I could say Sleeping Gods, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks great.
5 Tribes.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm a big Katala fan, and I've never played it.
You know what I love about your answers, guys, is each of you had the opposite answer to each other, and yet you're still friends.
Yeah, we have quite different tastes in a way.
Yeah.
We have wildly different tastes.
And yet you still work together on games, which is awesome. All right, guys. It has been such a pleasure having you back on the show for Tranquility the Ascent. Final thoughts. Give us your final thoughts on the game. Why should people back it? What do you want people to most know about this game?
It's a small box, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had. You're going to find strategies every time you play it. You're going to, over 10, 20 games, if you play it, you're still going to be finding out stuff. So, good challenge.
Yeah, it's got wide appeal for me. I've not found anybody who didn't get on with either of them, really. And, you can play this with anybody and have a good time. And as Peter said, you can come back and back to it, and there's still stuff to discover. And that's what we're about.
Awesome. Tranquility the Ascent is on Kickstarter June 28th, so everybody go check that out. The link is in the description below. Guys, Peter, James, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure seeing you again, and I'm sure we'll see you again eventually for the Tranquilogy. When that happens, I'm just going to put it out there now.
Your credits will be in the rule book. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. You've been watching Kicking Tables. Make sure you subscribe to AOMG Nexus. These guys are brilliant. They're doing a great job, and we really appreciate them inviting us on. And the link's down below. Press the button and make sure you check out Tranquility the Ascent. Thanks for your help.